All right, so for this video, we're going to fix our jump and kind of finish that off. And then we'll add in a couple other features just to kind of make it feel a little bit better. So first off, we're going to open up our player controller scripts. And there was actually a mistake that was made in a previous video that I corrected, but I forgot to actually put it in the video that I corrected. So in our on collision enter 2D, where we're checking for the ground layer, we actually can't just use ground layer here. Instead, we need to use something called layer mask dot name to layer parentheses quotation mark then ground. So this ground, as you put it here, needs to be spelled and capitalized the same way as you have here in your with your tile map. So ground, mine needs to be capitalized, so I'm going to go ahead and capitalize it. So it has to match whatever you have over there. Otherwise, it won't connect. This will fix the issue where animation, the jump animation won't stop playing when you actually hit the ground. So you jump and then you land, and there you go. All right, next we need to actually modify our jump force, like how the jump works. Because we're not actually getting enough, jump. Like we can't modify on our player how high he jumps. So let's go ahead and open up our scripts. We're going to add in a new variable at the top under components. Under movement values. This is going to be a public float. Let's call it jump force. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to just 5.0f for now. So jump force of 5. Then we need to actually use that. So we scroll down to our fixed update. And here, with our fixed update, we have this part right here where we actually add in the jump to our calculation. So instead of 5 here, let's go ahead and add in jump force. Now in Unity, you should see the jump force value. If I press play, it still works and he still jumps, but I can actually increase the jump force to make it so he jumps higher. Now, if you edit that, if you change that in play mode, those changes won't save, but you can use this to kind of figure out how high you want him to be able to jump. 10 is much too high, so I'll change it to 7. We'll see how that works. And the value is going to end up changing based on how you want the actual jumping to feel. For instance, if I'm building out my map and my level, and I put in another platform over here, I put that in. I need to make sure that my jump actually works for that, right? So if I have my level designed, I need to make sure my jump will get me over there. I also feel like, personally, for me, the movement's a little too slow. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that to 7 as well. That way it moves a little bit faster. There we go. Now, those values are going to be specific to your game and how you want it to feel, because you'll be designing your level. So ultimately, it's going to go where you feel it should go at those levels. But we'll worry about that a little bit later. All right, so another part of this is that I added this other platform to the side here. And if I jump, and let's say I miss it, I stick to the side, which is really awkward. That's not really how games should work. If I hit the side, I should just fall. Now to do this, we're going to go to our asset folder. We're going to right click, create 2D, physics material 2D. And we'll call this no stick, I guess. So that way we won't stick to the side. We'll set our friction to 0, and our bounciness to 0. We'll select our player character. Then in material, in our rigid body 2D, of physics material, we're going to go ahead and drag in no stick there. This will make it so when we run to the side, we won't get stuck on the side. There's no friction keeping us there. So I'll run to the side and I slip. I don't get stuck on the side. Easy enough fixed there. So next we want to make it so when we jump, we aren't playing the jump animation the whole time. We want to be able to switch to a fall animation when we will fall down. To do so, we're going to go to our animations folder, player anim. We'll find our fall animation. We'll open up the animator. And oh, it looks like I already have it in there, so easy enough. I'm going to move these other nodes to the side, and we need to create a pattern that we can work with for our jump, run, and fall animations. So we want to go from idle to jump, and then from idle to run, right? We have those already. We also want to be able to go from jump to fall. And for this, we're going to create a new parameter called Boolean is falling. And for the transition, we want to go from jump to fall when is falling is true, is jumping is false, and when is running is false. Now we need to actually program that in. So inside of our update function, down below where we have the part that handles jumping, I'm going to go ahead and create another conditional where for handling fall. So for this, I'll do if is grounded is equal to false. So for in the air, and our RB dot linear velocity y is less than 0. In curly braces. What this is saying is, if we're not on the ground and our linear velocity, as in our movement, is negative, as in going down, right? We would then do animator dot set bool is jumping as false, then copy and paste because it's easier. This one should be is running as false, and is falling is true. We're going to go ahead and save that and go back into Unity and test this out if it works. Press play. We jump, and it goes back to just idle. Not quite what we want. So we go from, if you look at our jump to idle transition, right? We actually don't need this anymore because we're going to go through fall. So we can go from the connection from jump to idle and hit delete. So now we don't go from jump to idle. We go from jump to fall, and then we can get to idle. So let's test that out. Jump, and we switch to fall. And now it does not go back to idle. So that's an issue. We'll fix that though. Go back to the animator. First, I'll go from the jump to fall transition. I'm going to turn off exit time and turn this down. Get that fixed. Now we're going to go from fall to idle. So we'll connect make transition from fall to idle. For this transition, again, exit time 0 and set this timer to 0. And then we need to create the conditions. Well, we're going to go from fall to idle if is running is false, if is jumping is false, and if is falling is false. Now we just got to program that in. If we're not falling, then we should set, so else, animator.setBool is falling to false. So if we're not falling and we're not telling the computer that we're jumping and we're not running, then is falling is false, and everything else should work the same. Then we press play, jump, fall, idle, jump, fall, idle. Cool. But what happens if we just fall off the edge? Well, first off, that shouldn't happen like that. We'll fix that in a second. But if we just kind of run off the edge, it doesn't play the fall animation. We can fix that pretty easily by going from idle to fall. So make transition idle to fall. And then here, for the transition for there, we turn the exit time off. We set the timer for this to all the way to 0, way over. And then if our is running is false, if is jumping is false, but is falling is true, then we should be able to go from idle to fall. So it'll play that fall animation if we just like run off the edge. There we go, it plays a fall animation. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but he kind of spun weirdly there. We can fix that. If we go to our player character, go to our rigid body 2D, constraints, and then freeze rotation Z. This will make it so we can't turn, we can't spin anymore. So he plays the fall animation like you'd expect. All right, so that's it for this one. A bit of a longer video, but we ended up kind of really wrapping up jump and falling. So we can move on to our camera. So right now our camera is still stuck on our player. It doesn't really work that way. So we're going to work on getting our camera together next. Thanks.